Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced with another video on polars. And in this video, this will actually probably be the last video of this particular series. Again, the point of these series is just to kind of give you to dip your toes in so that way you can go then and swim and learn more, okay, by checking out the documentation. Um, but basically in this video, what we're going to do is we've learned how to just basically load up a data frame. We've learned how to load up a data frame from files. We've learned how to query and filter that data frame. We've learned how to run aggregations on that data frame. We've learned how to join multiple data frames. But last thing, how to create something visual from those data frames. Now we're going to be using a library called Seaborn, which we installed earlier in this video series when we installed Polars. Seaborn is basically a charts library that's built on top of matplotlib, which is another library for building charts, and provides a really nice way of just writing out charts, and also supports Polars Dataframes. So essentially what we're doing here in this first cell, we're importing Polars and Seaborn. Okay, so that's how you import Seaborn. Okay. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to create this data frame here. And this data frame here is just basically showing arbitrary, sales numbers based on 3 imaginary products, A, B, and C, over several different dates. Okay, so this allows us to kind of 2 opportunities to create a nice chart. But first, let's actually just see what this data frame looks like. So again, here we create the data frame from the data set, and then we're going to print it out. So I'll run this cell. And basically that's kind of what our data looks like. Now, 2 things I might be interested in. I might be interested in seeing sort of like what our sales look like over time. Basically, are like our sales going up, down, what's the trend? Okay, so I may want to look at that. And I also want to know, hey, which one of our products are selling better? So basically, I may want to know also what our sales are by product to understand, hey, what are people buying? Because I'd rather focus more on that and then try to understand why people aren't buying the things that people aren't buying, and see, hey, is it a mistake? Hey, are we just marketing it wrong? Or is there something wrong with the product that can be improved? Or is there just not a market appetite for that particular product? So we want to kind of assess these things. So I can use Seaborn to generate a line plot, which would make a lot of sense for a time series data. Okay, so it'll make a lot of sense for me to take a look at, in this case we see here, we say sns.lineplot, meaning we want to create a line chart, and we pass it the data, which we just pass it our Polars data frame. We say, hey, which of the fields should be on the x-axis and which one should be on the y-axis. And then we can optionally use this set method to chain that off to add a title to the chart. So this will show us our sales by date. So now if I run the cell, okay, we end up generating this chart. And again, there's a lot of date entries, so it's all a little scrunched up there at the bottom, but you can see that basically you're seeing how the sales have changed over time. Not much of a trend, as you can see here. Again, it's just random data. But you can see we can generate a chart pretty easily. So that was pretty cool. And that's a great thing about like these notebooks. I could just sit there and have all the queries, and then I can have someone go in here and they can just edit the queries and then recalculate those charts. Okay. Depending on the scale of the data. At some point, the data becomes too much for one laptop, and then that's when you start using like tools like Tableau and Power BI, also to build more interactive, non-programmy dashboards. And then you use something like Dremio to really help you be able to crunch that data at scale for those dashboards. Okay, now basically here we're going to do another situation where we're taking a look at the sales by bar, by product. So this would be a good candidate for a bar chart. We're not really seeing, like, what we just want to see is the absolute amount of sales by each product. So saying, hey, A sold this, B sold that, C sold this, and be able to understand sort of where our sales are coming from. So a bar plot makes a lot of sense for this. So same pattern. We use the right method for the type of plot that we want. We pass it the data frame. We say, hey, what do we want on the X and Y axis? And we set a title for the chart, and then we can run it. And you get a bar chart. Okay, and we can see here that C is our best-selling product, B is our least-selling product. So we need to figure out, hey, what do people like so much about C, and why is B maybe not connecting? Unless it is that sales is within our expectations for that particular market, that particular product is being marketed to. So again, there's all these questions that require further exploration. But yeah, so essentially that's basically how you would bring in the data and then create some visualizations to better understand it. Now, the thing is that the Seaborn library has all sorts of different plots you can make. So again, here's just some examples of, if you start getting more advanced with it, the types of line charts you can make. But as you can see over here, there's all sorts of different plots. We can do scatter charts. Okay, so you can see some examples there. You can do, let's go to displot, just show you some examples of a couple other different things you can do. I'll show you this rug plot. Okay, and there's a whole bunch. Let's say box plot. Okay, and it just depends on what kind of chart and how you want to visualize it. But Seaborn has a lot of different options for you to kind of create the visualization you want. You can start off with line and bar charts and then expand from there by reading the Seaborn documentation. Okay, so between Polars and Seaborn, you have a lot of power you can really feed into one of these notebooks in order to encapsulate data. Because again, you can then share these notebooks to share this data. Okay. Now, of course, pulling in a bunch of CSV files and whatnot can sometimes be, a bunch of copies of the same CSV file all over the place. It ends up in inconsistent data because people make changes to those CSV files. You don't know which one's the right copy. So this is where having like a central access to your data is really useful. And that's where like Dremio really comes in, because you can connect all your different data sources in one place. And then essentially what I would do in my notebook is I would connect to Dremio, pull down the data, which uses Arrow. If I use Arrow Flight, so it would pull down the data in an Arrow construct, which would be very easily changeable into a Polars data frame, which is something we'll explore in later videos as we get back into exploring Dremio and Dremio Cloud in the next video series. So I'll see you all there. Have a great one and enjoy.